Ah, Gorilla Tag. The silly little game where you play as a gorilla and tag other gorillas. Before I get into what makes it so damn addictive and great, I would like to briefly summarize its history so we have a bit of context going into why it's so enjoyable. In 2017, a game named Lone Echo released. It's a spiffy little VR game that has a fun locomotion style. Rather than primarily using a joystick to get around, you use your hands to push off of surfaces, thereby propelling you in whatever direction you want. This, at the time, was a very fresh mechanic for a VR game that, to this day, is still very unique. More importantly, Lone Echo has a multiplayer. It's called Lone Echo Arena. In it, you have two teams who throw around a little disc with the goal of throwing it in the opposing team's goal. At this point, you may be a bit curious as to why I bring up some random ass game that contains absolutely zero gorillas. Like, sure, this game's great and all, but I don't see any gorillas here. Or maybe you know exactly where I'm going with this. But the reason I bring this game up is because it birthed the idea for Gorilla Tag. January 26th, 2020. User LemmingVR posts something on the Oculus Quest subreddit. It reads,
"What if you were really strong and had no legs, messing around with a prototype gorilla locomotion style?"
This was the first progress video regarding the silly gorilla game. As you can see, it's in a very unfinished state, and even more curious, the thing you control isn't even a damn gorilla. It's some silly Unity asset posing as one, named Space Robot Kyle. Yes, I looked it up. Lemming, the original poster, was a very seasoned Lone Echo Arena player, and from the looks of it, just woke up one morning and thought,
I'm gonna make a gorilla game for VR.
So he went ahead and took inspiration from Lone Echo for locomotion, tweaked it a bit, and boom, Gorilla Tag's first progress build, which, coolly enough, you can actually play and download, which I have linked. Granted, you do have to be 5'11", according to the post, so there's that. Unfortunately, still no gorilla yet, but we're getting closer to those beautiful primate cousins of ours. 8 days after the first progress video, Lemming returns to the subreddit and drops another update.
How can we do better at translating VR to flat videos?
The level that he's testing on has become much more fleshed out and even has neat little textures. The video title is in reference to the spectator view displayed onto a monitor and is ultimately why Lemming decided to make the view on non-VR devices a third-person view. After a long silence from Lemming, he posts yet another update video. It's titled,
"If you have the right locomotion tag is very fun in VR."
We now see two robots, both different colors, running after each other, on a very familiar map. This is an early version of the forest map, one of the 5 maps currently in the game, being played in multiplayer for the first documented time. In the comments of this post, Lemming mostly just explains the locomotion style and begins talking more about what the game will end up being, linking a Discord server for more info. On January 31st of the next year, 2021, Lemming makes one of their last posts about Gorilla Tag. We finally have actual gorillas. We also see one of the first times people mistakenly identify these primates as monkeys, simply putting the word monk in the comment section. Now that we have gone through the early history of Gorilla Tag, I can now talk about why it's so great and partially a few flaws the game has. Keep in mind that Funny Gorilla Game is still in early access and technically hasn't been officially released. So take any critiques on the game with a grain of salt, as it can potentially be added in the future. The movement in Gorilla Tag is so simple, yet so elegant. As I alluded to previously, you're simply pushing off of surfaces. There is no gravity. This at first may seem like it would heavily restrict what is possible. Surely you can't do that much with only one movement mechanic, right? But if you think that, I need you to shut the hell up. Because 1, you're super stupid, and 2, play this game and find out. Because this game has an arsenal of advanced maneuvers that would seem almost impossible with the only mechanic being pushing, with a little bit of friction. Which leads me to the skill floor and ceiling of the game. This game is quite easy to begin learning basic routing, juking, and wall climbing. However, it is way harder to begin mastering these skills and doing them consistently. Trying to master all of the skills gives a huge motivation to come back to Gorilla Tag to get better. This is particularly what makes it so addictive, especially for those competitive game junkies, such as myself, speaking from 1,000 hours of CSGO. Still a silver though. But even if you aren't necessarily the competitive type, this game is still great to just swing around in. To add on to this, it even rewards you for getting on the game every day by giving you shiny rocks for every time you log in a 1-day period. And if you don't play Gorilla Tag, you might be wondering, what the heck are shiny rocks? Shiny rocks are an in-game currency that allow you to buy various cosmetics. So, yeah, of course I'm logging in daily for this game. Now that you understand why I've sunk in approximately 5 days of my approximately 27,375 day life to purely being a gorilla, I now would like to talk about the art that is this game's graphic style. So, I'm not the type of guy to stand low poly retro style graphics, but I have to say that this specific style works very well in a gorilla game about tagging other gorillas. I think that the art style is great for this game because 1, gorillas look very funny when they are low poly, and 2, it reflects the game's simplistic nature, which admittedly might be a bit of an over-examination of this game's style. Maybe Lemming just didn't want to spend hours making high quality models, which I can't hold against him, and is probably more likely the case. But you know what, I'm just gonna give Lemming the benefit of the doubt here, and say that he purposely chose his style to reflect the game. The game, though near perfection, is not quite. There are a couple things that in my opinion should eventually be added. The main thing for me, personally, is some sort of official mapping tools and Steam Workshop support. Now, I know that the large majority of the player base plays on the MetaQuest 2. In fact, I am very aware of this, considering the average age of any given Gorilla Tag game is about 6 or 7, give or take.
Trees like this.
Which in itself also kind of sucks, but that's not really an issue that you can fix. Continuing with the modded maps, I think that this could be worked around with some sort of official website for Gorilla Tag community made maps. I'm not going to get into too much detail about how I think this should be implemented, but the general gist of it is provide mapping tools for the community, provide map upload hub, make an in-game custom map selector for different multiplayer lobbies, and wham! The map selector doesn't even have to be boring. It could be a new part of the tree that leads to some like high-tech teleporter machine with like a computer interface nearby that allows you to join different lobbies or something like that with like custom maps. I don't know, man. I just think it would be kind of cool to have some sort of custom map support that's, you know, officially supported from the game, because there are mods that can make that happen, but I don't really like it because it breaks my game sometimes. Besides this, Gorilla Tag does what it does great, and even without the officially supported community maps, I still have so much fun with this game because the current maps are still pretty great. Let's take a look at them. This is the forest map. As you can tell, it is indeed a forest with a few structures littered around. You got your slide, your campfire, your walls, your strange textured bit of the cliff, your playground, your stump, etc. This map tends to change with the seasons and holidays. I personally think that it's a great map to hang out on because of all the different things you can do. Plenty of branches to jump on. Next up is the cave map, which was the second map added. This map is a bit less decorated than the forest map, but still has a few fun things to stimulate your neurons. For example, a crystal instrument. It plays different sounds depending on what crystal you tap. It also has an underground area, which is great for hide and seek. Not too much to talk about in this map, but it certainly can be entertaining. The canyon map was the third playable map released to Gorilla Tag. It's very large and has a lot of focus on verticality. There's beautiful nature to observe, there's some housing, and an intercom system that occasionally plays some very ominous music. Finally, the mountain map, currently the fourth playable map. This map is cool because it took Forest Map Slide and absolutely buffed the hell out of it. Like, wow. Way too much. I bet the slide doesn't even have personality. But besides that, there's ice. You slide on the ice and can go pretty fast. I'm not too big on it in terms of gameplay, For example, the slide. At that size, it might just hurt if anything. You probably wouldn't even enjoy it, but it's alright because it has an igloo. So, it kind of balances out. Now, there's also the city map, which isn't like a playable map, so that's why I didn't really mention it with these other four. But, you know, it's still pretty cool. This is where you get your little cosmetics. It's also where you can unlock the competitive queue if you complete this little fucking small ass obstacle course, literally for babies. But that just about sums up all the key talking points that I really wanted to make about this game. Long story short, it's a pretty great game, and if you have some time to spare, I'd recommend you give it a try. Just, you know, see where it goes. And I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. Sorry about not uploading anything for a considerable amount of time. I just couldn't find much motivation at all to work on another video. But because it is summer, you know, and everything, and I have pretty much nothing going on, I just, you know, I decided to, like, instead of playing video games and doing nothing at all productive, you know, why not stop feeling like shit and, you know, make a video. Now, I'm not here to make any promises. Hopefully, the wait between this and the next video won't be nearly as long as my last video to this one. Now, you didn't hear that from me, okay? Nope, you didn't hear that from me, okay? Have a great day, epic viewer.